Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. The function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of the one who prays. People demand freedom of speech as a compensation for the freedom of thought, which they seldom use. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. People understand me so poorly that they don't even understand my complaint about them not understanding me. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to believe what is true. The most common form of despair is not being who you are. It is perfectly true, as philosophers say, that life must be understood backwards, but they forget the other proposition, that it must be lived forwards. The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur very quietly in the world, as if it were nothing at all. No other loss can occur so quietly. Any other loss, an arm, a leg, $5, a wife, etc., is sure to be noticed. I see it all perfectly. There are two possible situations. One can either do this or that. My honest opinion and my friendly advice is this: do it or do not do it. You will regret both. What labels me negates me. The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. The Bible is very easy to understand, but we Christians are a bunch of scheming swindlers. We pretend to be unable to understand it, because we know very well that the minute we understand, we are obliged to act accordingly. In addition to my other numerous acquaintances, I have one more intimate confidant. My depression is the most faithful mistress I have known. No wonder, then, that I return the love. Love is the expression of the one who loves, not of the one who is loved. Those who think they can love only the people they prefer do not love at all. Love discovers truths about individuals that others cannot see. What if everything in the world were a misunderstanding? What if laughter were really tears? To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. Once you label me, you negate me. The tyrant dies and his rule is over. The martyr dies and his rule begins. To venture causes anxiety, but not to venture is to oneself, and to venture in the highest is precisely to be conscious of oneself. Face the facts of being what you are, for that is what changes what you are. God creates out of nothing. Wonderful, you say. Yes, to be sure, but he does what is still more wonderful. He makes saints out of sinners. To cheat oneself out of love is the most terrible deception. It is an eternal loss for which there is no reparation, either in time or in eternity. If anyone on the verge of action should judge himself according to the outcome, he would never begin. The unhappy person is never present to themselves, because they always live in the past or the future. It is the duty of the human understanding to understand that there are things which it cannot understand. Do it or don't do it, you will regret both. Which is more difficult, to awaken one who sleeps or to awaken one who, awake, dreams that he is awake? Our life always expresses the result of our dominant thoughts. The highest and most beautiful things in life are not to be heard about, nor read about, nor seen, but, if one will, are to be lived. To be a woman is something so strange, so confusing and so complicated that only a woman could put up with it. The question is not to be or not to be, it is what we should be until we are not. It is not the path which is the difficulty, rather, it is the difficulty which is the path. The truth is a trap, you cannot get it without it getting you, you cannot get the truth by capturing it, only by its capturing you. It is not where we breathe, but where we love, that we live. For without risk there is no faith, and the greater the risk, the greater the faith. God creates everything out of nothing, and everything which God is to use, he first reduces to nothing. The door to happiness opens outward. The thing that cowardice fears most is decision. The best news the world has ever heard came from a graveyard. Christ is risen. And this is one of the most crucial definitions for the whole of Christianity, that the opposite of sin is not virtue, but faith. Only the noble of heart are called to difficulty. The deepest form of despair is to choose to be another than himself. Who am I? How did I come into the world? Why was I not consulted? If you think you understand, it isn't God. Wherever there is a crowd, there is untruth. Hope is passion for what is possible. To love another person is to help them love God.